Oi, gente, tudo bem? Sandra Expeditions aqui. So today I wanted to share with you exactly how I am learning Portuguese or how I learned Portuguese so I can speak the language conversationally. So I just thought I would speak a little bit of Portuguese for you for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then I'm just going to share a little bit about how I started with Portuguese, my background, also how I learned and how I'm learning Portuguese, and how I continue to study the language in the future. All right, so let's get started. All right, so what should I say? Oi, me chamo Adriana. Am I saying that right? Eu sou americana. Eu sou dos Estados Unidos. Eu cresci aqui no Nova York. Eu moro aqui também. O ano passado eu decidi para ir ao Brasil para a primeira vez, porque eu queria praticar meu português e também eu queria aprender o idioma também. Eu passei 3 semanas no Salvador, não, 2 semanas no Salvador e 1 semana no São Paulo. As 2 primeiras semanas eu tinha aulas de português no Salvador com profs privados, somente 2 horas cada dia para 10 dias, talvez. Sim, depois minha viagem, eu decidi que eu quero aprender o idioma fluentemente, porque eu gosto muito da cultura brasileira, eu gosto dos brasileiros, tem muita energia, as pessoas têm muita energia. Eu não sei, eu decidi que eu gosto muito da cultura brasileira. Por isso, eu comecei, por isso continuei a aprender o idioma cada dia. Mas com português, eu estudei o idioma para somente 2 meses, o ano passado, e talvez depois minha exame, porque me di conta, eu não sei, porque às vezes eu falo portunhol, eu misturei muito português e espanhol, por isso eu não podia continuar meus estudos do português, porque o ano passado estava preparando para o exame C1 de espanhol. As palavras de português são muito similares com agora, e coisas assim. Muitos exemplos. Agora eu não posso pensar exatamente, mas sim. Que mais? Talvez acho que isso é suficiente, mas o ano próximo eu quero ir no Brasil outra vez, talvez por 2 semanas. Oh my gosh, eu escrevi. Oh my gosh. Eu fui no carnaval o ano passado, sozinha. Eu fui lá para o Salvador para 2 semanas. Eu gosto muito. Eu gosto muito do bairro Liberdade com Ilhéus e também São Paulo, mas no São Paulo eu não podia fazer muitas coisas porque estava doente, por isso eu não podia fazer nada. Mas nesse ano, eu fui no Brasil outra vez por 10 dias com minhas amigas, Recife, Rio, Salvador, Recife, Rio, São Paulo, somente por 1 dia. E o ano próximo eu quero ir ao Brasil para 2 semanas fora do carnaval. Eu quero ver muito mais a cultura brasileira. Okay. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. All right, so I'm just going to give a little bit about my background, and I hope that was sufficient proof that I can speak, some Portuguese. All right, so before I started Portuguese, I was already fluent in Spanish. So after like a week or 2 weeks in Brazil, I was already having conversations and people couldn't believe that I was only studying the language first. So for only a week or two. And I only had to change out certain words. Like instead of yo, I said yo. Instead of hablo, I said falo, y cosas así, things like that. Oh, y cosas así, cosas así en español, y cosas así en portugués. But yeah, and I also speak French. And now Brazilian Portuguese is my third language that I would like to speak fluently. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background because I know that everyone starts from a different place. So for me, but it's still not easy. Like, I still can't really speak Portuguese, and I started last February, or it was a little bit of Duolingo in January. But honestly, when I went to, I could barely speak I couldn't say anything, like not even a sentence when I got into Brazil the first time. Then I did 2 weeks of private lessons when I was there for 2 hours a day, for about 10 days. All right, so basically what I do to learn right now. So if I was consistent, I would definitely be a lot more fluent in Portuguese. The thing is, after 2 months of studying Portuguese last year, I had to stop my studies because my Portuguese was interfering with my Spanish, and I was preparing for the DELE C1, the C1 exam, which I did not pass, but I missed it by 5 points. 5 points. But anyways, my teachers told me I should stop studying Portuguese, and I stopped. And after the exam, I didn't really study seriously any Portuguese. Like, de vez en cuando, eu estudei. I studied the language a little bit here, a little bit there, mostly just with Duolingo and sometimes, watching Easy Portuguese. This year, I decided to be a little bit more consistent, especially like, let's say 4 months ago. I definitely decided I'm going to be a lot more consistent, like not just, I would say Portuguese. With Spanish and French, I was like on it, consistently studying everything. And then with Portuguese, it's more just been a background language because I've been still trying to master 2 very high levels my other 2 languages. So that's why, I didn't give Portuguese the time that it deserved and the energy. And I was also kind of getting burnt out with language learning. But what I do right now, day to day, is I do Duolingo pretty much every day, at least 1 lesson. And I was doing a lot more Duolingo a few months ago, but I realized Duolingo was way too slow. I don't like the new tree structure where you can only do like 1 lesson at a time to build up. So I started using Busuu about 2.5 months ago, and I love Busuu. I completed all of the A2 section. I started in the A2, but now I've been going back to the A1 because I realized there's still fundamentals I have to practice. So I guess I'm like on chapter 4 of A1. And so, yeah, I use Duolingo, I use Busuu, and those are both free. I also use Easy Portuguese. That's where I watch Portuguese speakers. I try to watch them when I have time. I don't get to do that often, but Busuu and Duolingo is what I do every day, at least like 1 lesson a day. Oh yeah, I also go to meetups. So I go to meetups here in New York City. There's a huge language learning community. I go to the polyglot meetups. I also go to like just Portuguese meetup, or if an event has Portuguese. There's not that many here in the city, and I try to look for opportunities to talk to talk to Brazilians. So like when I was in Guadeloupe a few months ago, I was in line, and all in Guadeloupe, I'm speaking French. All of a sudden, I hear Portuguese behind me. I turn around. I say, "Você é brasileiro?" Elas me dizem, "Sim, eu sou brasileiro." Você, de onde você? De onde você? Like, where are you from? Você é brasileira? And I say like, "No, I'm not Brazilian." Yo, the main reason why I want to learn, anyways, I love Brazil. I love Brazilian people. I love the love that they give to me when I'm speaking Portuguese. Literally, if you want to get showered with admiration, you got to learn Portuguese because so many people study Spanish and not that many people study Portuguese. So even when I was in Brazil this year, I was in Brazil for 10 days with my friends during Carnival. I would go to hotels. People would be like, "Wait, por que você fala português? Like, why do you speak Portuguese, but you're like American? Like, what is this? Like, wow, mas você fala como brasileira." I think they're really gassing me, but They were so hype. And I feel like I was a little bit rough when I, gave my little Portuguese in the beginning. Oh my gosh, the main thing I do, how did I forget this? The main thing I do with all my languages is that I do weekly lessons on italki. So I have a teacher, what's his name? I forgot his name, but I'm going to post him here because I love his lessons. They're very detailed. I do like 45 minutes to an hour with him. I try to do those every week. I also do that for Spanish and French. So like, one lesson a week, which is amazing because sometimes I'm not really a homework person. I just like to show up and be taught and, not have to think about it that much afterwards. So yeah, but I don't know, like I had to learn Brazilian Portuguese because I just love Brazil. I want to learn so much about the history, which is so interesting. Like the way they deal with politics and race and all that stuff. It's like kind of fascinating to me, like the history and how every part of Brazil is different. Like, I want to go to Curitiba, Manaus, and like Flori, and like all these other places. I want to go back to Salvador because I love Salvador. I love Liberdade in Salvador. Like Brazil's just so big and everyone's just so like interesting, like just the culture. But I feel like I'm all over. But yeah, italki, definitely my top. Easy Portuguese, Busu, language exchanges. Did I say Duolingo? Duolingo. Those are like the main ones. I'm not like seriously like crazy studying like how I did with French where I was going intense. I'm more so like casually studying Portuguese. Like once a day I do Duolingo, and once a week I do an italki lesson, and once a day I try to do a Busu lesson. For the most part, I try to do at least one Busu lesson a day. And yeah, I think my next update, I'm hoping that I will be completed with all of Busu so that I can come at you all and just be like, grrr. So who knows? If you guys give me like 3 months, I definitely can come back a lot more fluent and strong. So yeah, so I guess I should talk about what I plan to do in the future, which I kind of just said, but I'm going to finish all of Busu. I'm going to continue with Duolingo no matter how boring it is. Just like when I'm on the train doing a Duolingo lesson. I'm going to continue doing one italki a week. I'm also going to Brazil next year. I don't want to say what for exactly, but it's not going to be for Carnival. It's going to be, which was lit. I'm going to tell you that. I went to Recife, Rio, Salvador, and Sao Paulo this year with my friends. It was a vibe. But yeah, next year is going to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more meaningful. I'm going to try to be there for a week and a half or 2 weeks, depending if I decide to visit my friend in Bolivia or not. It depends. But yeah, I'm just so excited. I just really love Brazil. Like I see myself going there every single year. I can see myself going to Brazil every single year just to discover more of the country. But yeah, did I say I go to meetups? Yeah, I try to go to meetups. It's kind of hard though to meet Portuguese speakers, like meaning Spanish speakers and French speakers is a lot easier, but meeting people who are learning Portuguese, it's a little bit more rare, but New York City still has them, and I do get to meet Brazilians, and I made a new friend last weekend, and she goes to a lot of Brazilian events, so that's my thing. I'm going to go to a lot more, like, samba events, and, I dance samba. Don't know if you guys know, but, I took a class or two, and then I've been practicing ever since, and they told me I was amazing, so yeah, and of course funk, that stuff is easy because I am Jamaican. So, I know how to naturally move my body. I don't know how much I can say, how much I just love Brazil. Yeah, and I'm looking for a language learning community. I realized a lot of the language community on YouTube. I have one friend on YouTube. His channel is Never Ending Journey or something like that. I know it's like Nick. He changed his name from like Nick Cox, like the Never Ending Journey. I met him through YouTube and like he's super cool. And I don't really know that many other like small YouTubers. Most YouTube channels that focus on languages are all like kind of like selling a course or just seem like so commercial, or they're teachers or something like that. But I really want to meet like language learners who are like passionate about languages, kind of like how I am. Oh, wait. Sorry. Can I say one more thing? Another thing that I love when you tap into a new language is that you learn so much about the world that speaks that language. So with French, I learned more about, like when I studied French, I learned more about French-speaking countries. I learned more about French, like in Africa and in the Caribbean and just like everywhere. It's like a whole world, like the French world, the English world, the Spanish world. And then now with Portuguese, I learned so much about like I was getting my hair done, the lady who did my hair, and she was speaking. She's Angolan, right? So I pointed that out. I was like, she was doing my hair, and I heard her speaking French. So I was like, where are you from? And she was like, oh, I'm from Angola. And so I started speaking to her in Portuguese. No, I started speaking to her in French because she was speaking French with her friend. And so then I switched up in Portuguese. And she was like, você fala português? And I just thought that was so cool because because I speak Portuguese, I know about a lot of Portuguese-speaking countries like Mozambique and Cape Verde and, obviously Brazil is the big one, Portugal, and, Angola, Kizomba is from Angola. So I don't know. I feel like when you learn a language, it just makes you so cultured because you're tapped in. And I have those moments all the time where I'm literally speaking 4 languages at one time. But anyways, that's it. I'm going to discuss that in another future video. But thank you again for watching this video. And yeah, I wish you all the best on your language learning journey. Ciao.